Melochim Perigid Halacha Yud. The Noach שרוצה להזיז מצווה משאר מצוות התורה כדי לקבל שכר. The Noach wants to do other mitzvahs of the Torah in order to receive reward. Ein moinen oisei la'asoi tzorkil choso. We do not refrain from having him do it. The Raz infers from the language only a goy that wants to do a mitzvah. He says that only if he says it's a new one that it was commanded, then we don't let him do it. But if he wants to do it in order to receive reward, like just anyone who does a mitzvah, which he's not commanded to do, and he does so, there's no reason to stop him. And there's a question that mitzvahs that need to have kedusha tahara, like putting on tefillin, writing a sefer Torah, mezuzah, are we machmir not to let him do it? The Mishnah in Truma says, "Nochi should tell him to mosei truma." The Nochi took tithes. It says truma and ma'aser v'kedusha hegdish. The Rambam explains that even though they're not chayav in mitzvahs, if they do so, they have a little bit of schar, and therefore the law of if the truma takes effect, the hegdish takes effect, and the ma'aser takes effect. Hilchos Yesodei writes, it's forbidden to Yisrael to cut olas goy in order to heal him, heal the goy, because by goy you don't. The rule is usually you don't kill him, you don't help him, and even though the goy is keeping the mitzvah of milah with his healing, since he doesn't do it for a mitzvah, you should not heal him. Therefore, when the goy wants to circumcise himself, a Jew can do so. Thus, there's a concept the goy can circumcise himself even though he's not commanded. Depends what his intent is. If he says he's commanded, he's got a problem. If maybe oila, he brings an offering, we accept it. The Ravaz explains that we're talking about it's only if he brings it as a present offering. Oila that Yisrael brings as an obligation, you don't accept from him, and all other offerings you don't accept from them. Even the burnt offering that he brings as a present, you don't take the libations from him or from tzibur. Only from tzibur, rather, not from him. As we say in Ma'aser Kabonis. Nosan tzedakah, he gives a charity. By him, he said, "A dweller of Eretz Yisrael, mikalmim," and you take it from him. And v'yiroli, the Rambam writes, it would seem Yisrael, you give it to poor of Israel, hoyel v'hu, because the ger toshav nizim Yisrael is being supported by Jews, mitzvah aleim nachyosim, and there's a mitzvah for them to keep him alive. But a goy, Shenosan tzedakah, a goy who was not living in Israel, mikalmim menu nois ani goyim. You accept it from him, you give it only to goyim, not for Jews. Now, to begin with, we're talking about a ger toshav. In the end, he talks about a goy that didn't accept the seven mitzvahs b'nei Noach. The Rebbe the Kesef Mishnah explains that he gave tzedakah, you receive, we learn this as a kal v'choyma from goyim, that we can take from them tzedakah to give to other goyim. Like he writes at the end of the Halacha, certainly that you receive from the ger toshav that you give tzedakah. The Ravaz cites, Halacha Yud Beis, they were commanded to support other nations, other goyim, together with the poor of Israel, because there shouldn't be any animosity between us. But it's not a commandment to keep them alive outside of Israel. Therefore, we take from them charity because of to make peace, and we give it to their poor people. They shouldn't hate us. Now, since the person, the citizen of Israel, was a goy who kept the mitzvahs, we're obligated to keep him alive, because the Mishnah cites Machon Nesher of the opinion that you should give first the nevela, the ger toshav, who accepts the Zion mitzvahs, who eats nevelas, rather than sell it to a goy. Meir learns what it says to the stranger who dwells in your area shall you give it. To give it to the ger toshav, a citizen goy. Yehuda doesn't need this posuk because they were commanded to keep him alive. So it says, "Gev v'toisha v'cheimoch." They shall to live amongst you, which means to keep them alive. And they were talking about by a citizen of Israel who accepted not to do avodah zarah, but he still eats nevelas, like we find in Masechta avodah zarah 64b. Yehuda sent matonis legoy on their festival, and he knows that goy doesn't serve idols. Here's a question from a brisa: only if he accepted before Bezdin is he called a citizen goy? The Gemara answers that only regarding to keep him alive, like a Jews, poor people, we have to have that acceptance. A goy who gave charity, because the mission says 10b, that the mother of the king of Persia sent a wallet full of gold coins of Ami. He didn't accept it. Then she sent it to Rav, and he did accept it. Ami was upset. The more questions: why did Rav accept it? And the answer is because of peace between kingdoms. Ami's opinion that still should give it only to the goyim, not to Jews. Rav gave it to the goyim. Ami was upset that they didn't tell him that Rav gave it to the goyim. Therefore, it would seem that the reason you give it to them is not an obligation, but rather because of peace. Because the Mishnah questions that the Rambam doesn't mention the reason of peace. And you can't say you learned that it's permitted even not for peace. From Basra 8:8, it says that the king of Persia sent this wallet full of money, and that should be a mitzvah rabbo. It says mitzvah rabbo is redeeming people who were captives, and he gave it to redeem people who were captives. And Gemara doesn't mention that he did it because he accepted it because of peace. Still, because the Mishnah says, Ami, the Gemara explains that he accepted it because of peace among nations, and certainly Abiesa must have done it for the same reason, because the money came from the mother of the king. And because the Mishnah questions why the Rambam left this reasoning out, and he leaves it without clarification, the need for clarification. Like the Mishnah Lamelech explained that the Rambam already explained in Hilchos Matonos of Yoina and Aniyim, giving matonos to the poor people. Melech is sar goy, a melech or a sar of a goy, shishol mamli Yisrael tzedakah, that gave money to Yisrael tzedakah, and machzion loy mishum sholem malchus. You don't give it back to him because of sholem malchus, or loichem imenu, but rather you take it from him. And there he explains from who you do take it, and from who you don't. And he continues, and here he makes it short. Hilchos Edus, in Perek Aleph, he says, "Abazuyim sulen leedus, mehem haoichlin tzedakah shel goy v'yasya." Those who are shameful are not able to give witness, and who are they? They are those who take charity from a goy publicly, even though they may do so privately. You see, Yisrael can take charity from a goy. Perek Tes, it's mentioned Rabbi Akiva Eiger, citing the Peirush HaMeir, Sanhedrin 56b, Bnei Noach were commanded on tzedakah because it says by Avraham Avinu, Ki Yida'at, if I know that Hashem is tzedakah, and this is tzedakah, this is charity, because Anshi Stoim were punished and they didn't give tzedakah, so we see that a goy can give tzedakah. It could be that the mitzvah to give tzedakah between themselves is fine. When they give it to Yisrael, we receive it from them and we give it to their people. That's why it's not mentioned because of Sholem Malchus. The Torah ben Noach, the Rambam usually talks about a goy that kept the 7 mitzvahs. A goy alone means he didn't accept the 7 mitzvahs. Like we find in Machon Nesher HaGodol, it says goy stam, it means he's an idol worshiper. Here the Rambam writes, a mitzvah, the other mitzvahs. You don't keep him from doing so, because we mentioned keeping Shabbos is forbidden, etc. And in Halacha he writes, Goyim that learn Torah is liable for the death penalty, or if he kept Shabbos. We have to understand what would be the din of a ger toisha who wants to keep Shabbos or lasik the Torah, because he says only they are a goy, which means not somebody who kept the 7 mitzvahs. Some Zayva says the Rambam is the opinion that if he accepted on himself not to do idol worship, he can keep Shabbos, keep the mitzvahs. He wants to keep them, and we accept from him offerings, and we teach him Torah. We accept from him tzedakah. Those who disagree, because you see from the Lashon Rambam, Ben Noach is a ger toishav is he refers only to a mitzvah from other mitzvahs. We don't keep from him. That means that there are some that we don't allow, which is Perik Tes, which means that you don't teach him Torah, he doesn't keep Shabbos. And is a mitzvah to keep him alive. The Achronim discuss whether the intent is a goy that accepted himself not to survive the worship you're already obligated, or that it means any goy who doesn't serve idol worshippers. We know that, but he didn't accept it as something that in front of Bezdin. We're learning Perek Yud, Halacha Yud Aleph, in Melochim. The Rambam begins, Chayav Bezdin Yisrael. The Bezdin Yisrael are obligated, Lazar Shoftim, to make judges, Le'elu Agor Matoishavim, for the Ger Matoishavim, for those dwellers who have accepted the seven mitzvahs. Ladun Lohen Alpi Amishpotim Elu, to judge them according to the 7 mitzvahs B'nei Noach. Kadesh Yishoches Ha'olam, if they won't have judges, they'll steal and they'll kill. Ha'imo Bezdin, if a Bezdin Yisrael saw that there's a possibility to establish judges from Bnei Noach, Ma'amidim, you do it for them. And it says if you're going to choose from Yisrael, it's better, Ma'amidim, you do it from Yisrael. The Radbaz explains that Bezdin of Yisrael has to make for them judges. He's talking to Bnei Noach to not establish judges, so if they don't have anyone worthy of it. Ma'am Shik cites Sanhedrin. Shoftim l'chol ir minayin. How do I know? It says in Sanhedrin 16. How do I know that you have to have in every city? Talmud loy shoftim l'shorecho. Shoftim to your gates, even gates. I feel the ger toishav where a non-Jewish dweller who accepted the 7 mitzvahs is living.